So after God finished creating heavens and earth, he ascended to his throne. Now here many people think that for God to ascend to his throne is because he wanted to rest. No, he didn't go back to his throne because he wanted to rest. No, he ascended up to his throne because he was done with the creation, and that's it, nothing else. God does not get tired for him to need time to rest. Not everything human beings do, God does. Let's take sleeping, for instance. God is far away from such weakness. Human beings and animals sleep, which is a sign of weakness. God is not this weak. Likewise, eating, resting, and whatever that symbolizes any weakness, God is far away from that. Human beings and animals need rest, they need sleep, they need to eat. God does not need that. So we have already heavens and earth constructed. Now God did not leave the earth as it is, with nothing. No, God created seas and rivers. The vast seas which stretch across the earth is salty, for example. And there's wisdom in why the sea is salty. Take an example of the biggest fish in the sea, the blue whale. There's lots of them in the ocean, and they always die along with other big fish. Now, because these huge creatures die in the ocean, if the ocean wasn't salty, they would spoil the environment in the sea, and probably we wouldn't even be able to consume the rest of the fish in the sea. So the salt in the sea is there to purify the water. Another thing is that God did not just make the ocean salty. No, but he blessed them with the most precious and beautiful pearls and gems that he created, which are not found anywhere else except in the ocean. God kept creatures in the sea, and he made them lawful for the people to eat. And for the rivers, the water is sweet, not like the salt water of the ocean. And it's permissible to drink for those who wish to do so. There are many rivers in the world that God created, but the Euphrates and the Nile are rivers of paradise. What's meant by this? These rivers resemble the rivers of paradise in their clarity, for example, their sweetness, and the causes of the rivers. As for the Nile, it starts from Lake Victoria, somewhere in Africa, specifically Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. This river flows towards north and passes through 11 countries in Africa. Why I'm talking about this river particularly is because this is the exact river where Moses was thrown in. I just had a mention of it because in the coming episode we'll be talking about the life of Moses, and we will talk more about this river. But also the today's problem that the world is facing about the Jews in Israel and the Arabs in Palestine. We're going to talk more about this river. Another thing to note is that this river, the River Nile, is the longest river in the world. And now God mentioned the things that he created in the earth, such as the mountains, the trees, and the fruits. But he also mentioned about the creation of inorganic materials like the minerals, and the creation of living creatures in the countryside and in the desert and in the seas. God mentions what he has created to prove to us human beings his greatness, his power, his wisdom, and his mercy. You cannot love someone enough unless you know who he is. So God shows us what he created and what he did for us, how strong he is, how merciful he is. Why? So we know, and knowing who he is will lead us to love him. That's it, nothing else. Okay, now we've got the living creatures. Did God just make these living creatures and leave them alone? No. God provided for every living creature. Everyone receives His provision day and night, in the morning and in the evening, in summer and in winter. Take an example of a bird leaving his nest in the morning with empty stomach and goes back to his nest in the evening full. Like we said in our previous episodes, that the provision of everyone in this world was already written 50,000 years before the creation of heaven and earth. You don't have to really worry about what you're going to eat tomorrow. You will eat. It's already written. No one is going to erase that. Now, last thing before we end up with this episode is that God said after the creation of heaven, He created the stars. The stars have only three purposes. One of the purpose is they serve as decoration of the sky. People living in big and developed cities might not experience this due maybe to the city lights, but for those who live in the countryside or a village can really appreciate the beauty of the night sky. I remember when we were young kids, I come from Africa, so a lot of times we used to have a power cut. Now, because it was hot and we wouldn't sleep, we couldn't sleep in the house, we used to take our mattresses outside the house, in the backyard. So now when we sleep and we used to, look up into the sky and see the stars. And in Africa, you feel like you want to raise your hands because the sky is too low. You feel like you just want to raise your hand and hold the stars. They seem very low. But it was, beautiful. And then later, sometimes maybe it starts raining and that's it. That's the end of the movie. Everyone running with his mattress, and blankets back into the house. The second purpose for the stars is to act as missiles, to hit the devils. There are people who call themselves as fortune tellers. These people work together with the devils. Now, the fortune tellers cannot pass through space to the heavens. They need special equipments like the ones astronauts have. They need rockets, which they have none. And anyway, the rockets that we have that can actually carry people, as for today, can maximum take people to the International Space Station, and that's about 400 kilometers from Earth, above Earth. So what do these fortune tellers do? They seek help from the devils. Devils can survive in space, and they have high speed. It is said, but it's not confirmed, that a devil can fly around the Earth in 1 second. Just that one circle, he can do it in 1 second. So their speed is very, very high. So these devils fly very high through the space to the edges of the first heaven. What happens there is that they cannot go through the first heaven. God assigned angels to guard every heaven. There are 7 heavens, and there are guards who are angels. The first heaven has got angels as guards. The second heavens also, likewise, all the heavens. So there are angels there sitting, sometimes talking. So these devils go and try to listen to what these angels talk. And they get like just 1%. It's not that they don't really get to hear anything. Maybe just 1%. So God sometimes, He permits them, these devils, to listen, to get that 1%. But sometimes God decides to use the shooting star, the exact same stars, to shoot them. And you can experience sometimes at night when you look at the sky, you can see shooting stars. These stars are there to shoot, to be as missiles, to shoot the devils, so they don't get to listen. But sometimes they get to listen, that 1%, And devils are liars. When they come back to the fortune tellers, they fabricate the story. Just that 1%, they are not going to tell it. They will even fabricate that. And then again, the fortune tellers will take your money. And even that fabricated story that a fortune teller heard from the devils will fabricate, will add, again, salt and pepper and tell it to you. You know, it's just lies upon lies and upon lies. There's nothing true in whatever fortune tellers say. So these shooting stars, they act as missile to attack the devils. That's it. So they don't get to listen to whatever, you know. Though sometimes God permits them to listen to whatever that 1 or even 0.05%, you know, they get to listen sometimes. Now the third purpose of the stars is to guide the travelers. Stars have nothing to do with zodiac. No, a star has no effect to someone's life. They are there to guide the travelers, mostly those who travel in the desert or the sailors in the oceans. So there is no any other reason for the stars except for the ones that I've mentioned. No reason whatsoever. So there is nothing like zodiac. These are just a bunch of lies, just for people to get money, to make money from other people. And I don't recommend anyone to go to fortune tellers. Just work hard and put your trust in God, and everything's gonna be all right. Thank you very much. I think we should end here. We have videos every Friday uploaded. Please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and if you have any questions, ask. I'll try my best to answer to everyone. And share the videos to whoever you think might benefit from these videos. Please stay tuned and take care of yourselves.
Bu cismim ateşi aşkınla yansın ya Resulallah. Dü çeşmim ham gafletten uyansın.